Watch me turn this apple juice jar into a terrarium.
We first have to add to the drainage layer. I'm using Leica, but gravel works as well. Next I'm cutting window screen mesh with a Stanley knife to act as our drainage layer. This will prevent the substrate from getting into our drainage layer. Putting in and situating the substrate barrier was an absolute pain, so I didn't record it. So here's the finished product. I'm next to add my purification layer, which I use charcoal for. This will keep the water clean. Putting in the substrate was horrible, so here it is all done, to save you all of the pain. Everything that I used to make this terrarium is in the description, so have a look at that. Now I'm adding a tiny bit of water from this very empty spray bottle. Now for our hardscape, I'm using this dried branch from, I think it's a gum tree, which I got outside, but it will act perfectly with what I've got in mind for this terrarium. Now it's time to add the moss. Now at the moment the moss bin is quite stacked and has a great selection of moss that we can use for this terrarium. All of this moss is locally and sustainably collected. I first started with this patch of what I think is thread moss. Correct me if I'm wrong. Now with much effort I ended up splitting the moss and moving to spots which I think would create visual interest. Now I got this taller piece of moss which I situated into the background, and yeah, and then I got some more moss and more moss, and it took quite a while to get it all in the right spots and fitting through this tiny little nozzle of the jar. Now it's time for the plants. I got this cutting of peperomia and melando and cut off the larger leaves, and I situated it about back halfway in the foreground, and I think it looks quite nice there. Now I did spot this little tiny worm thing. If there's any worm experts out there, tell me if it's good or bad for the terrarium. I just left it in there. I also added a small cutting of peperomia anna verde. There are a lot of plants to add, and I did it off camera. Here's the finished product. There's some Fittonia, some baby tears. It's all going to be in the description, so go look in the comments. Now this wouldn't be a bioactive build without Springtail. No. Now that was really painful and almost the end of the terrarium, but they're now in. Now please just close the lid before anything else happens.